Welcome to our webinar, but I'd like to call it much more of a talk show because we are going to have a discussion and we're going to draw from experts who are going to weigh in on what's coming around the corner, what you need to know, right, to be a better app marketer. So the topic is alternative monetization channels, and the timing couldn't be better because, of course, you're moving into Q2, we all are, and we're in strategy mode, right? We're trying to get the most out of our strategies, our tactics. You're trying to get the most out of your mobile games. The good news is that is what we're here to do. And there are many alternative ways to do it, ways to generate additional revenues, also rocket the player experience. And our guests know about all of this firsthand. So let me get to them right away. And a familiar face for us because he's been on the journey in this series with you from the start. I'm just joining. I'm Peggy Anne Salz, and I'm going to be here for the rest of the series. But first, should I put it, my partner in crime, my esteemed colleague, Fahim, director at App Samurai. Fahim, you have, of course, been with App Samurai since the start. You lead the business division over at App Samurai. And in addition to being here hosting this series, you've also been out there doing keynote sessions around what it takes to move the needle on your app. So yeah, first of all, great to welcome you back. And of course, for people who don't know it, he's not just about moving the needle on your app. Some moves himself. I found out third-degree blue belt in jiu-jitsu, Fahim. That is incredible.
Thank you for having me, Peggy. As you mentioned, it's always a fun journey with you. And those side hobbies, the jiu-jitsu skills always help you. Strong mindset, the Japanese lifestyle.
Absolutely. It's about making those moves. I said moving the needle on your app. You've got your own moves. What a combination. And we also have Sahil Modi. He is partnerships manager at Audiomob. And of course, Audiomob we know about, we've read about it. It's a company driving completely new ways to monetize mobile games with audio ads. It's backed by Google, Lightspeed Venture, Makers Fund as well. And we're going to look into that innovation because it's all about innovating that experience. But Sahil, you're also into innovation as a person as well. You drive partnerships at Audiomob, but I also see you're into founding startups, mentoring ad tech companies, and you know about the alternative app store space from all sides and the experience as well. So, great to have you here. You're so multifaceted and a games lover, because we know it, your guilty pleasure. You play a lot of Call of Duty, maybe even a little bit too much, but that's the passion we like here, right? We're lucky to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Peggy and Fahim.
Well, it's great to have you both because alternative methods, I mean, that is so hot. I love writing about it, reporting about it over at Pocket Gamer, where I'm also a writer. And now it's coming together that we don't just have the alternatives, we also have the drive, the motivation, the resolve to explore them, because the Apps Flyer App Marketers Speak 2024, it's a survey of app marketers, right? And they come out, they're very bullish about alternatives, about exploring and, more importantly, implementing new monetization methods to attract players, grow loyalty, increase spend. So it's gaining serious traction. We've been talking about it for a long time. Now we're actually seeing results. What do you think is driving this? There's something here that's different than before. Maybe I'll start with you, Sahil.
Yeah, so actually, it's a great question because people have been talking about alternative strategies to make money, but off lately, actually, I could go back to 2020 where the IDFA scene came in, and this is where the policy started changing. So publishers, they like to have a very predictable kind of a revenue. So when these policies change, you want to make sure that you're keeping the boat afloat, not because the changes can lead to a drop in CPMs, it can lead to changes in how you target. So that's where actually Audiomob was also founded, and this is where it's gaining the traction as well, right? So now as we go into the events, this is becoming a hot topic. People are talking about how they can get on board into this as well. And of course, when we get into this, our idea is to tackle this with case studies, proof in the pudding. And tackle also the latest policies that are coming in. Maybe it's something to do with privacy related, or something to do with the changes that are happening in Google Play Store policy or App Store policy, right? So yeah, that's about it.
So real driver is the policy, but Fahim, you've been looking at this at App Samurai also for a long time. What's different now?
Yeah, one thing, as Sahil mentioned, right? This thing around alternative ways, be it about, the alternative methods of driving a car, alternative methods of monetization, alternative app stores. It's all a hot topic, right? People want an alternate, because what has been in system has been there for quite a long, the big ones. And then when we have something as a Google Privacy Sandbox that comes up in May, or you would have the IDFA changes, right? So as developers, you would want to secure yourself with these alternative channels of, let's say, in our case, monetization, right? As Sahil mentioned, right? Let's say the traditional methods of banners, interstitials, of course, they are always there. They're always going to be, like a legacy builder for revenue. But once you want to scale it, right, you would have new formats as Audiomob in this case, for example, or with App Samurai with the rewarded playtime, right? Things like, you would have the exact same user, you would have the exact same screen, the same experience, but the conversion or the willingness of the user to spend more time, earn more revenue for you, it's something that is in a dynamic shift. So these ways on, how in a shorter span of time, you as a publisher or a developer could basically, monetize that same user in a higher frequency is what drove a big change in the privacy regulations as well.
That's exactly what I'm hearing as well. It's sort of like, in this case, more is better. Why not have more alternatives? And you're getting more value out of the players. You're still maybe using the ad formats we know, but you're using others. So why not do that? Why not increase that? And let's talk about some of those channels, because we look at the alternatives. We're hearing about alternative app stores, distribution channels. I won't go there right now because I'm sure we have other shows in the series dedicated to that. But one channel that we zoom in on, and this is what I'm thinking for you, Sahil, is, we're back where we were thinking very, very seriously about audio. And we know it is already central to the player experience because, it's part of the gaming experience, sound. Now it's going to be part of the advertising experience increasingly. Let's just get our heads around that for a moment. Like, what is the player experience with an audio ad? Maybe you can just briefly describe that for us.
Yeah, so I like to think of a very classic example, right? Let's say Fahim and I and Peggy are racing. We'll not take an example of Call of Duty in this one. And let's say I need an extra boost in the game, and every car is supposed to have a radio, right? And it says, listen to a radio ad, and you can get a car booster. And there you go. I'm zooming in, and I'm now in the first rank. That's pretty much the experience with audio ad. While in the game, you can actually listen to an advert and not stop playing, and probably also get a reward in the background, which actually boosts or enhances your experience. So in essence, you're actually creating an experience for the gamer, the brand, and the publisher to be really happy about this experience, because nobody is getting intruded, everybody is winning in this experience. And that's, in a sense, is actually an audio ad. But there are multiple ways I can explain this. It could be in a puzzle, you need a hint. It could be it could be, you're in a hyper casual game and you go through an audio gate perhaps, and you're now listening to an ad, you get an extra cash bonus at the end when you finish the level. So there's so many ways you can integrate this.
I mean, it sounds great for the player experience, and actually we know it already. I mean, my days of I listen to streaming audio this way, right? You hear an ad, but then you have this great channel, and then if you're really lucky, they learn over time and they give you exactly what you want. So it's an exciting space, but it's also wide open to some innovation as well. What is your company doing to make that special, to make the ad format, to improve it, maybe even make it a bit stickier? I hinted at personalization. What's possible? What are you doing?
Great question. So I'll have to go a bit back for this and talk
Okay.
about our founders. So ex-Googlers have managed $100 million worth of ad spends, know how the advertising industry operates, but then found a really good gap in the gaming industry, which is, you're listening when the video experiences are a bit intrusive, right? You are off the screen for 30 seconds to a minute, you're in and out of Play Store, and then you're back in the game. But this is where $1 billion opportunity was found. What if we sort of put the audio ads? And this is where I can sort of loop in the post IDFA times. We decided that we want to ensure that the policies are not constantly changing or creating a steep bottom curve for revenues. So we made sure that this was contextually driven. The product was provided to advertisers as a contextual targeting. And with 3 billion mobile gamers that are generating, it's like this industry, you cannot ignore it. Everybody from OTT to different business is looking into gaming, right? So this is where we said that we are going to create an opportunity of an incremental revenue. So we are in the space of creating an incremental revenue for anyone who wants to integrate audio ads. So don't change anything that you're doing in your ad space. Let your interstitial and banner ad spaces be the way they are, but we will figure out a way to incorporate an audio ad non-intrusively. And the bet is it is not going to impact the user retention, because we are not going to create an intrusive experience. And at the same time, we drove a lot of innovation with 2 patents. So most of these patents are in the audio detection space and audio passback. Just to deep dive a bit on this audio detection, we ensure that every audio impression is billable. That means our advertisers are guaranteed that audio ads are heard, and we do this through on-device volume detection. And audio passback is a very interesting experience where a user could be listening to music in the background. So we want to be able to handle that multimedia seamlessly, let the audio ad go on, and as soon as it is over, the multimedia resumes. So in a sense, we want to create an experience where the gamer is not doing a lot. Nothing has changed in the gamer experience, except for the fact that now they can associate to a very interesting brand in the process. And from an industry experience, we obviously started with Unity, because that's what a lot of the games are built in Unity. But right now we're expanded into apps, and the idea is to be very close to the stakeholders, taking all the feedbacks that you can get and keep reiterating the product. So there's a lot of innovation going on there, a lot that I can't divulge into in this call, but yeah, you can follow our channel and I'll be sharing these news in the coming time.
That is very cool, Sahil. I have to say, I was just thinking the whole time saying, we have a little bit of a problem in the ad space about viewability. When was an ad viewed? Did I grasp it? Did I see it? You've got listenability in a way. Was it listened to? That is so cool. And that answers a huge pain point for companies that want to get involved in this or want to know that it's being measured. So yeah, there's going to be a lot coming from you indeed with patents on that. So we know that audio ads are clearly a way to reach and engage users. You're showing the way. You're actually being able to measure the results. But it's also important, app marketers tell me as well, that it's all about engagement. In fact, I was talking to Zinga, and he's like, if you are not seeing engagement, you are not seeing results. It is the result we aim for. And with that as a backdrop, what we're actually seeing is a lot more interest in all ad formats, all alternatives that engage. And one of these is rewarded ads as well, because we have one study, and I'll quote it. It shows that the majority, that's 84% of mobile gamers, right? They gravitate to games that offer tangible rewards in their game rotation. In other words, they are choosing these games, and they will even not just say these are the games that make the cut, they will even switch from those games if they don't offer rewards. So reward is very much at the center of what's driving engagement. Now, Fahim, from your position and what you're seeing from your perspective, I mean, for me, that says stand up, take notice. These are very interesting results. But what are you doing, or what are you thinking can be done by marketers to really cash in on this trend?
One thing that you mentioned, Peggy, right? Almost 84% of the users, they like that are tangible. Now, this stems from the past few years where rewarded offer walls are something that have been in business for quite a lot. Many of the gamers used to use these offer walls, complete tasks, and get those rewards. The backdrop of that was the engagement, as you mentioned, right? The engagement from an advertiser perspective was still limited. So as a user, while you would still earn that reward for the task, when you're an advertiser, right, you would see that eventually your ROAS was not at par because the engagement used to drop once the task was complete, right? And that's where kind of, App Samurai started investing in its proprietary SDK called as the rewarded engagement, the rewarded playtime, basically, that rewards
Yeah.
the user for every minute that they spend inside a game. Now, the idea was, since the user already likes to kind of, collect rewards, the idea was you bring in a user, the experience is very, very native as well, especially from a data privacy regulation, right? So once the user, let's say, opens the app or the game, they are given a pop-up, hey, do you want to earn certain cashback, certain rewards for your time? It's as simple as this: an e-commerce brand sending me an SMS, hey, sign up for our SMS program and get 25% off your next order, right? So it's one of those things. Hey, you're going to play this game anyways, might as well let us kind of, monetize this. They give you the permission, you start tracking their playtime. And as they play, they get invested in it, because for them, the motivation is, hey, if I play this game for an hour, I'm going to get rewarded, and then I'm going to get a cashback from Google, Amazon Pay, and we support other partners as well. So from a user perspective, they were able to just use those digital tokens, move it to a monetary value, and get invested in the game. From an advertiser's perspective, they saw that, this kind of unique ad format that they're using, rewarding the user for every playtime. As an advertiser, the LTVs kept on increasing because the users kept on playing, and as they were playing, we gave them additional tasks. Hey, if you complete this in-app purchase, at X portion, you'll have a Y reward. So while they played, they earned the reward. If they did those purchases, they got an additional reward, an additional cashback. Now, every purchase for the advertiser increases the ROAS. So we saw with hybrid casual games that are some of the hottest genres this year, and mid-core games that are relying heavily on in-app purchases, because again, with all these privacy regulations, in-app ads revenue is still kind of, a bit shaky at times. But when you have in-app purchase inside your game, and hence the whole shift that we wrote on the ebook as well, the transition from hyper casual to hybrid casual, because you are able to incorporate the system of leaderboards in-app purchases. So now the user is coming back to the app again and again, opening the game, doing those purchases. So as a brand, now you are maximizing your users' value. They are investing inside it. They are being rewarded for the playtime. And of course, they are doing those purchases. Hence, from an advertiser perspective, we saw that this format was very well received. For the publishers, since they were able to monetize with a banner on for a lower CPI, but when we offer them our SDK and tell them that now you can monetize for the playtime, and the advertisers are going to be hybrid casual, mid-core casual, by default, bringing in a higher CPI. So for the same user, their CPIs increase 2x, for example. And on the advertiser side, we saw them increase their ROAS by over 110, 120% for certain hybrid casual games. And the amount of playtime level completion was almost increased by 2.5x, basically. So we saw that this format of one alternative channel of monetization linked back to the advertisers that eventually increased ROAS. So it was like, a win-win condition. So a new format for advertiser to promote campaigns, a new format for monetization to basically add in a placement of rewarded playtime.
And what I'm hearing from both of you that really plays in favor of these alternative approaches is that there's no education involved. These are already aligned with the way we behave. We listen to audio, and we're understanding that from other verticals, how that works, me as a great music fan. And to your point also, Fahim, we know these rewarded approaches from others, even from just straight things like in the real world, loyalty programs with shops, with airlines. So, it engages more and more comes as a result, is what I'm hearing.
Exactly. Because the user behavior doesn't change, the industry might change. So once you kind of, touch into that user behavior, it's a win-win for everybody. You play, you spend time, you get rewarded. And these days, everybody wants reward. Everybody likes a discount, right? So you play a game in your leisure time, might as well get paid to kind of, play those games, discover those games, and over time become a loyal user of the game. So the day 30 ROAS, the day 90 ROAS, the LTVs on the reward engagement, the LTVs of the later days is much more higher than an offer wall. Hence, you invest money initially, but the long-term LTVs balance out, hence a ROAS positive approach.
So you're both tapping into that, these are alternatives, obviously. Marketers are exploring them, and there's data backing the effectiveness, particularly because you don't need to educate players to do something new and different. But you still have to balance engagement and effectiveness. You have to make certain the ads engage players and they don't disengage from your game as a result. So I'd like each of you to share one thing marketers just cannot miss when they are building this journey, this strategy. They want to get more value out of their players. whether that's nurturing them through rewards or just the sheer satisfaction of having a great audio ad that's aligned with the game. So I'll start with you, Sahil. What is the one thing that marketers have to get right, can't miss to make this a great user experience?
So from a marketer's perspective, right, and also addressing the nature of the beast, we're talking about brands. So we're not just talking about user acquisition campaigns in games now. We're bringing in brand ads. You know, you've heard them in radio ads, and now we're giving them a chance to also come into play with mobile gamers and at scale, right? So that is an exciting part where we have ad operations team, we have developer relations team. There's a lot goes on the background for a very successful audio ad to play in mobile game, right? There are best practices that we are talking about. We are educating publishers about it, and then on the ad operation side and our sales side, they're evangelizing in the market, talking about what are the best audio lengths that needs to go in so that the users are liking it. They listen to the ad completely, as well as probably click on the banner, right? So there's a lot of that going on for in the background for user experience. And something that I really agree with Fahim on that is the LTV. The main game with alternative ad is an LTV play. We're talking about increasing the life cycle of a user and then getting a major return on that, rather than doing it fast and then crashing. That's exactly what we're avoiding in this approach. From a perspective of publishers, we also educate them about a lot of best practices. So we know that audio ad is a new space, a new integrations that are going in the market. So we don't go in and say, slap in 6 audio ads in your game session time. We understand what kind of a game session is, and then we start with a small ad cap. So we start with 2 audio ads, just test it out, do an A/B test, and see whether that's damaging the user attention or not. And when it doesn't, that's when we start to take bigger bets. We increase the caps. We add a new placement of rewarded. We create that brand association, and that's how we create a good experience for the user.
Fahim, what about you?
Yeah, in our world as well, right? The last thing you want is that the alternative channel appears to be more disruptive. So again, from an advertiser perspective, we are still tapping into the same budget. We are like, hey, you're already spending in money on XYZ channels. What I'm saying is, just do the exact same thing. On the integration side, there is nothing that differs from the advertiser's brand side. All they do is they classically give us the MMP access. All the leading MMPs are partner of App Samurai. So as an advertiser, your life doesn't change at all, including your reporting mechanism, and your cost APIs stay the same as well. From a publisher's perspective, right? Again, all these SDKs are lightweight SDKs. It's a plug and play SDK as well. So even when you're a publisher, you can easily plug into this SDK, tap into the offers, and as Sahil mentioned, right? The ad ops team is somebody that always helps you set those integrations as well. So both the advertiser and the publisher, they don't have to spend any extra effort, any extra labor, or undergo any specific trainings, because again, these concepts are something that they already do. We use those similar placements. From a user's perspective, we ask them a permission, as a user, hey, once you start going through the journey, you're going to be tracked in this manner. And in turn, you're going to be given a reward. Do you agree? Once they press agree, then we have the consent as well. So now they know that, they gave their consent, and now they're tapping into all the available promotions and offers. So the user wins with those early cashbacks. The advertiser wins with longer LTVs and ROAS. And of course, the publishers win because of higher eCPMs and the revenue per clicks. So it's basically a win-win where the whole ecosystem wins and scales eventually.
Okay. So I'm hearing LTV, I'm hearing ROAS. I'd like to wrap it up with that question we always have, because we're like, yes, we want to add value to the player experience. We have alternatives that can do this. But again, marketers, they need to know what to aim for. They need to know how to measure that success. So we've heard about ROAS, and even Data AI suggests that ROAS is what mobile app marketers are going for. Tell me what you think that metric should be, and maybe also defend it, convince me that this is the metric that matters. I'll start with you, Fahim.
Sure. So, one thing is ROAS, it's a very, very broad term. So you could be a hyper casual, hybrid. It's basically your return on ad spend, right? So what you invest, basically how much of that, it's a fancy way of saying ROI in the ad space. Now, again, with the playtime, when you compare this with traditional channels like an offer wall, for, let's say, a casual or a hyper or a mid-core game, you would see significantly higher ROAS. When I say ROAS, your revenue stacks are constantly increasing, your LTVs, your retention rates, all of these are amplifying as well. We have multiple case studies on the website that highlight how just plugging in a playtime campaign increases the duration that the user stays. So when they're staying in that duration, so while they're playing the game, they're also watching other ads that you show from other channels. So, a user might still watch a banner, a user might still listen to that audio ad, a user might still watch that rewarded video, all because they are being motivated to basically pursue a certain playtime to get that extra cash back. So, this playtime concept basically boosts the performance of all your existing and additional monetization channels as well. So eventually, when you as a brand marketer check out those LTVs, you will see an overall uplift in all your monetization channels because of the rewarded playtime setup.
Great. Time is money here, literally, with you.
Money.
Absolutely. Okay, Sahil, defend your metric. What is the metric they need to aim for?
So I would like to introduce a interesting metric on the brand side for audio ads. Right? So there is an LTV. So that is obviously, sorry, we are maximizing LTV through LTRs, which is listen through rate. So this is the percentage of the users who finish through the audio ad. And then this is something that we are educating the publishers about as well. What happens is we conduct a lot of brand uplift study based on the LTRs that we generate from our audio ads in mobile game, and that is primarily a very important metric, because at the end of the day, I think what Fahim mentioned is from a user acquisition perspective, a very performance perspective, the engagement that drives revenue for an app. But what we are also driving is the brand side of things. Is the user able to connect to the latest burger that is dropped by Burger King in UAE? And what is that brand association? What is that tone that goes with it? And are they listening to the message completely through and through? So these are the metrics that we defend on the marketer side. But I can also speak a little bit on the publisher side. So for them, it's an ROI, right? So at the end of the day, what matters to publishers who are implementing or introducing audio ads to user is the uplift in revenue. Are we able to give them that percentage of uplift without changing their existing revenue stack? And these are the two metrics that we're defending and balancing on both sides, and getting the supply and demand happy.
That listen through rate, that's a new one. I'm going to be watching for that, because you make a great point. I can also tie that back in with the journey. If someone is listening to something somewhere and something else happens when that burger drops, and then I can see that, I can start stitching together the journey, even though maybe because of user level data, I couldn't before. So I am seeing cause and effect. I'm seeing impact, and I can measure it. So yeah, we have gone through our metrics. Wasn't much of a battle. We've got ROAS, we've got ROI. I think we end as friends, but we don't end it here. This webinar, this talk show will be available on demand. There'll be tons of companion content out there. We'll even get to see, Sahil, what your user experience really looks like in audio ads. And Fahim, you and we will be back as well. We have more in this series. We've got work to do, looking at alternatives and checking out what is possible. So here, I think I'll just end it. And thank you so much for sharing your time, being here, and yeah, making it fun. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much for joining us, Peggy and Sahil. I will see you on the next one then.